You're listening to Divine Mercy Radio, 101.7 KJDM, Lindsborg, Salina, 105.7 KMDG Hayes, 88.1 KRTT Great Bend, 88.1 KVDM Hayes, and 89.1 KGOH Colby. We are on with our Fall Care-a-thon, Joy of the Gospel. Welcome back after our lunch break. There are some announcements I'd like to make really quickly. First is thank you to Mark and Cindy Washburn. Cindy came in to visit us here, and her and her husband donated $500 over the lunch break. And so with our matching funds, that's a $1,000 donation there. So thank you, Mark and Cindy. We appreciate it, and we appreciate everything you've done within our community. I also want to thank Hickok Steakhouse. Today I was treated with the chicken strips and French fries and the house sauce that goes with them, and it was delicious. My children love Hickok's. I really like it too. They're pretty jealous that every day I've been up here, that Hickok's has been spoiling me with lunch. So if you're like me and you like Hickok's, or if you're looking for a good place to go to Hickok Steakhouse. They have hand-cut steaks, salmon fillets, made from scratch soups and rolls, an extensive wine list. They also have banquet seating for up to 40 people. They've got a large menu, all done in a unique dining experience, which is in a Western atmosphere. So it's really nice over there. Go down there, support them. The owners there are Greg Whitehair, Damon Hoare, and Oscar Runyon, and Oscar also manages the place. And so please support them. They have, as I said, spoiled me all week long. So thank you so much to Hickok Steakhouse. Please go see them. All right, as we get ready to get started for this afternoon segment, we're going to introduce our new guest here in just a little bit. But first, we want to remind everybody that as the Care-a-thon is going on, the numbers to call are 785-621-4110 if you're going to answer a question or to give a pledge. There's also a number to call for on-air questions, and that is 785-621-5061. If you call that one, then we can get you either patched directly in so you can ask it right over the air, or they will take your question, send it to me on the computer, and I can read it for you. So please do that. We love on-air questions. 785-621-5061. As we have our Care-a-thon goal of $125,000, we want to thank those who have donated already, those who gave us the matching funds, and for those who are listening right now and are going to give this hour. 785-621-4110. All right. I'm going to get to our first trivia question, and then I am going to introduce Megan Beisel. And so our first question here for the noon hour, call 785-621-4110. Which of these saints was not part of a religious order? Was it A, St. Thomas More, B, St. Benedict, C, St. Francis of Assisi, or D, St. Therese of the Child Jesus? Is it A, St. Thomas More, B, St. Benedict, C, St. Francis of Assisi, or D, St. Therese of the Child Jesus? Which of these saints was not part of a religious order? And actually, a couple of them there started an order, so they should have probably worded that better, but you'll figure it out. 785-621-4110. Here we go. Let me see if we've got Megan on the phone. Megan, are you there?
I am.
Oh, fantastic. All right. Megan, it is great that you were on here with us. We appreciate your time. And did I get your last name right? Is it Beisel?
Yeah, it is.
All right. Fantastic. Well, thank you so very much for being here with us today on the phone. For everybody out there who's listening, Megan is a wife, a homeschool mom of four, a cradle Catholic who's passionate about liturgical living and building family traditions. Based out of Kansas City, out of the Kansas City area, Megan uses her background in education to teach others fun ways to connect with saints and celebrate feast days via books, guides, and printables. When she isn't sharing her unique liturgical living ideas on her website, One Festive Mama, you can find Megan giving talks to Catholic women's groups, teaching Sunday school, or visiting a new national park with her family. You can learn more about Megan and her work at onefestivemama.com. And that would be one as in the number one, O-N-E, festivemama.com. All right, Megan, so good to have you. I really don't know what is exactly meant by this either. So I'm hoping that you can enlighten me and others as to exactly what do we mean when we say liturgical living.
Yeah. Well, liturgical living is kind of a catchphrase right now, I feel like, in Catholic circles. But really, people have been doing it for centuries, forever. And it's just living that liturgical calendar that the church has laid out, bringing it into your home and into your life and living it at home. And so that's kind of just that's what liturgical living is.
Okay, so that's easy. I guess we're done. No.
Yeah, that was super short,
That was
right?
super easy. Thank you, man. You're a real easy guest. So maybe then we can start digging into why is it important to have this liturgical living at home, and what does it look like actually lived out?
Yeah. Well, for starters, it looks different for everyone. You know, that piece, the living piece, when you're bringing something into your life, then it's got to fit your life and it's got to be, you know, unique to you. So liturgical living looks different in every family, in every circumstance. But why it's important, I mean, I can only speak from my own experience, but, you know, being on a journey and growing and starting to live more liturgically has really helped me go deeper into the faith, helped me learn a ton, and just see the wisdom and the beauty in the church year that, you know, that the church has set out for us, and all these opportunities for growth in different ways by following the liturgical year. It's a great, I mean, as a mom of 4 kids, I mean, one of my, you know, biggest roles is to help teach them the Catholic faith. But I love that living liturgically can help me teach them to love the Catholic faith, to celebrate all the depth and the tradition that's there. And it's just a beautiful way for us to connect as a family, by doing the traditions, to connect with the church as a whole, and then also to connect with other Catholics in our celebration.
Okay, so we're speaking with Megan Beisel, and she is talking about liturgical living. You're listening to Divine Mercy Radio's Fall Care-a-thon, Joy of the Gospel. And part of the joy that I have is I get to sit behind the mic and just have discussions with people. And if anybody out there knows me, I can talk. And so thank you, God, for that gift. And thank you, Divine Mercy Radio, for putting me back here, because, you know, I'm able to cultivate that gift in just having these awesome discussions. And so we're going to let Megan dig deeper into this and help us to understand how to live that out in our own lives. But first, I want to congratulate Jackie Brown. A friend of mine works over at IHM, a great lady. Her and her family are wonderful people to have in our community also. And so congratulate her on winning the trivia question. The correct answer to which of these saints was not part of a religious order would be St. Thomas More. So congratulations. We will get you put in that drawing, Jackie, for that $50 gift certificate to Messenger Traditional Catholic Books and Gifts. And I know Jackie will probably use it within about a day. All right, here we go. We are still listening to our Fall Care-a-thon, Joy of the Gospel. If you would like to partner with us and spreading that joy with others, please call into 785-621-4110. That's 785-621-4110. And what we do then is we take any bit of your donation and we put it back into the radio stations to make sure that they're working proper, that you're hearing things that you want to hear, and that we are out there trying to save souls. 785-621-4110. Let's see if we can get donations from about every increment. Let's get 100, 250, 500, and 1,000 this hour here while we have Megan with us. 785-621-4110. All right, Megan, coming back to you, you were talking about just the different liturgical seasons. So I was wondering if maybe you could give us some concrete example, maybe of things you're doing. So if we started right now, we're in Advent. So what are some things that you are doing with your own family to do this liturgical living during this season?
Okay. So for Advent, and with all liturgical living, you can take and borrow pieces from the church. You know, the liturgical color in the church for Advent is going to be purple. So I hold off on decorating for Christmas until a little bit later, but I put up some different Advent decorations to help remind us of what season we're in. So I'll use, purple in a lot of different ways. And then we also have traditions around prayer that we do. So we do an Advent meal prayer instead of just a regular meal prayer. We do the Jesse tree, which is a scriptural walk through the lineage of Jesus leading up to his birth. And so we read a scripture every night and put a special ornament on our Jesse tree. And then we also have like an Advent wreath, which you'll see in your church, usually with the 3 purple candles and the 1 pink candle to signify the 4 weeks of Advent. So we also have an Advent wreath in our home to help signify and help, especially my little kids, kind of recognize, okay, 1 candle's lit, then when 2's lit, we're getting closer to Christmas, and walking through that and praying with our Advent wreath on Sundays.
So are there also I actually love to be in the kitchen. I love to cook. Are there recipes that are special for each time of the year for you also? Do you maybe change up some of those things and make things special or anything like that?
When we celebrate certain feast days, we have different recipes. I don't know that like for the whole season that I necessarily change, but definitely for different feast days, food is a really fun thing to incorporate. Again, pulling in another sense. And I think food, in particular treats, help to draw my children in. And then once they're drawn in with something sweet, they're more apt to listen and make the connection of like, we're having this because it's, on Friday it's St. Nicholas Day. So we'll make a special Dutch spice cookie and talk about traditions surrounding St. Nicholas in different cultures and that type of thing. And so it kind of draws them in, but then also they get to learn, and then we'll usually incorporate some form of prayer as well.
Oh, that is really cool. Now, if I had to ask you, which I'm going to, what's one of your favorite recipes that you might make for one of these special celebrations?
Oh gosh. Well, the Dutch spice cookie for St. Nicholas Day is really good. I would just really enjoy the process of being creative in learning about the saints and where are they from. The modern saints, like for instance, Blessed Carlos, who's I learned that he really loved Nutella. So that's a fun thing to do if you're talking about or celebrating him. He's a modern saint, and we can connect to that. Or he's a soon-to-be saint, and we can connect to that. Or if we don't know a saint's particular favorite food, just something that would have been common or something that connects to where they're from is always a fun cultural tie-in.
Absolutely. And I think you probably just made a case for every young person to like Carlo. Because I don't know a young child that doesn't like Nutella. The kids can eat that stuff like by the bucketfuls. And so yes, that's really neat that you take something like this, but then incorporate it in and talk about why it has something to do with the saint of the day or whatever. And that's just really neat. That's very cool. So maybe if we move then from Advent to the Christmas season itself, are there any things that, maybe some of the things that other people don't think about that you guys would do during Christmas to help this liturgical living?
For part of it, our culture doesn't really celebrate Advent. We kind of jump culturally and commercially jump right into Christmas after Halloween sometimes.
Yep.
And so by observing Advent during Advent, we do try to hold off on some of those more Christmassy celebrations and try to continue celebrating Christmas from Christmas Day to Epiphany. And so we might do more baking. We might do more Christmas movies. We might do more of those things. When everybody else has put everything away, we're continuing to celebrate through that Christmas season. And we'll change our meal prayer to a Christmas meal prayer. We'll leave our decorations up until Epiphany, just to give ourselves that time to truly celebrate, because we are trying to use Advent to prepare our hearts and to be a little more still. It's hard, and doesn't mean we don't do anything Christmas related in Advent, but just trying to be a little more Advent centered, at least in our home during that time.
I think that's fantastic, because you're right. I was actually just having a conversation, I think it was yesterday, with somebody about that. Yeah, it seems more and more that people are just trying to forget about Thanksgiving even at all, and just like, well, let's just lump them. I actually, there's a house here. I won't say where it's at, but they have like these Halloween/Christmas decorations, and it's just weird. And I'm like, you know what? Let's let Christmas be its own thing, and we can let Halloween be its own thing. But anyway, I'll get off my little soapbox here. But I agree with you on that point. I want to remind everybody that we are listening to our Fall Care-a-thon, Joy of the Gospel. So we're talking with Megan Beisel, and she is talking to us about liturgical living and how we can live that out within our own families. And as you're listening to her, I want you to please consider being a partner with us in the mission of bringing souls to Jesus. And that's what these radio waves do. So if you would like to partner with us, please call 785-621-4110. That's 785-621-4110. And we will make sure that we keep these radio stations going so that we can keep putting the truth out there. So we're going to get back to Megan Beisel. We're talking about liturgical living. I've been going through some of these different liturgical seasons. And so, Megan, is there anything that I know you said, if you have special saint feast days or anything like that, we do have a liturgical season within the church that is ordinary time. So, it's kind of odd, because it is just kind of like that. When we're not celebrating one of the high seasons, I guess, people kind of like, well, whatever. But are there things that you guys incorporate during regular time also that helps to keep that liturgical living alive?
Yeah, we, my children and I like to pick a saint of the year. Usually around All Saints Day, we'll pick a saint, and it's kind of part of our homeschool, but really just kind of part of celebrating the saints. And so we incorporate them by celebrating their feast days. And whoever picks that saint will then try to learn about the saint and share about the saint, and then plan a celebration on their feast day. So we have those sprinkled in wherever those saints happen to fall. And then, of course, even though it might be ordinary time, there's often holy days or holy days of obligation that we're going to observe. And it is kind of like a breather, because Advent and even Lent can be a lot at times. So I think that there's some wisdom in that church year, and that, like, you're not always at the mountaintop, or you're not always, there's kind of that ordinary time, and that's a good thing too.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to the season of Lent, that's one of those seasons that really kind of forces us to do something, at least if we're following our faith anyway. So, we have the, this is a season I'm supposed to give up something, do something extra, something like that. And so we generally have that sense. But what is something that we can do to help us dive deeper into Lent when that comes along?
Oh gosh, Lent is that one that I think we all kind of internally are dreading a little bit at the start, but it is so good for us.
Yes.
I think we have lost in all the conveniences that we have. We just like comfort so much, and I think it's good for us to stretch ourselves, and even though it's self-mortification, but to pick something that helps us to grow, helps us to go through that process of offering things up. And, and the things we pick are often not, aren't truly suffering, but it's a step in that direction. But I feel like in the last few years, as I've grown and started living liturgically, that I've learned to not dread Lent quite so much, to see the beauty in it. Again, I like to do some things to decorate my home to help draw us into the season, as far as I love the imagery of the desert. So I usually get some little potted cactus and I will put those out with a picture of Jesus in the desert. And maybe, again, purple's a liturgical color, so some purple. And I just think those things help remind us that we're in a time set aside. We're not in ordinary time. We're in this special time of journeying that we're supposed to be intentionally growing with Christ. And so sometimes those visual reminders are a great opportunity to keep us on track.
Absolutely. I've got a, looks like we've got a call-in question. So Annie Sandmeyer, who has often been on our Care-a-thons, wrote in and asked did your parents do liturgical living with you, or what inspired you to start doing liturgical living with your own kids?
Yeah, I would say that my parents did some liturgical living, not to the degree that I do it, but I will say that my mom, growing up, always used the phrase "simple pictures are best." But it's like I didn't get that from her, so I never keep it simple. But we did what my mom would call forced family Lent. The TV would just disappear, or we did things during Lent, and we also, did the Jesse tree and some things during Advent. But we did not necessarily celebrate the saints or the feast days. I remember things for Advent and Lent and, celebrating Easter and Christmas. But beyond that, not a lot.
Okay. Yeah, so I think the really cool thing, though, in that answer even is that there are those things, and you mentioned this earlier, there are those things probably within our family that we're already doing to some extent. So you said that you would have the forced family. That's great. Penance of sorry, TV is gone. And so sometimes we think about these things and we're like, oh man, how do I add just another thing? But it really doesn't seem like it's that. I mean, one, it's going to be good for our faith. But it doesn't seem like it's that intense to just kind of live this out more fully, I might say, because you find yourself already doing some of these things. So like I know there's a lot of people out there that do the Jesse tree, or that have an Advent wreath, or have an Advent calendar and stuff like that. And so it's not that most people aren't living it out at all. It's just that you have found a way then to take it further, to incorporate it even more into your life, correct?
Yeah, I would say that it looks different for everyone, and you probably are already doing some things. I think of liturgical living as kind of like layers. Like, you might add this tradition, this Advent. Maybe we didn't have an Advent wreath and we got one this year and we really like that. Well, then next year we're going to continue the Advent wreath, but maybe we're going to try, an Advent meal prayer, or just small changes and adding in layers and collecting those traditions. And it's a great place to start and to just continue to go deeper.
That is wonderful. Thank you so very much for that. I want to break into also thank Annie Sandmeyer. She pledged $50. And so through her pledge, that becomes $100 with our matching funds. Remember, folks, that we still do have those matching funds, and we've got plenty of them left, which means that we can use them to get to our goal. Our total goal is $125,000, but we can't get there without you, because it's you that makes this well-oiled machine run. So please help us to continue making it run, continue spreading the gospel here on Divine Mercy Radio's Fall Care-a-thon, Joy of the Gospel. Let's see if there's someone out there who has a $1,000 donation for us this hour. Looking for that $1,000 donor. If that's you, call us up at 785-621-4110. Now, if that's not you and you can give less, then don't feel bad, because that was me too. I couldn't give 1,000, but I could give what I can give. And so whatever you can give, please do that. 785-621-4110. That's 785-621-4110. All right, we're talking to Megan Beisel about liturgical living, and I want to hop right back into that. So Megan, what do you think is the importance of living liturgically at your home and through your home?
I would say for me, I mean, on a personal level, obviously, living out the seasons helps with my own spiritual growth. But I also, as a mother, see it as a wonderful opportunity for catechesis for my children, and to help connect them, help them to see the beauty of the church. I think the voices of the world are very loud, and I want to do everything I can to help anchor my children in the faith. It's not a guarantee. There's no guarantee, obviously, that they would choose to continue the faith. But I do think that, just taking my children to Mass and not bringing it into the home and talking about what they're seeing and experiencing, then we're missing a critical piece of that personal connection.
Yeah, absolutely. So, keep going.
Yeah. I've found liturgical living to be a fun way. I like to think of it like, it's great to be a practicing Catholic, but sometimes I think if you're living the liturgical season, maybe you're a celebrating Catholic. Because if you know people that live liturgically, they're constantly having some kind of celebration, and that's kind of what kind of comes with it a little bit. And it doesn't have to be major or a lot, but just really embracing and celebrating all the church has to offer, and just bringing it into the home. I kind of think of like, we just had the Feast of Christ the King, which is a high feast day in the church solemnity. And we could have just gone to Mass, and then we would have participated and observed, the Feast of Christ the King. But by doing our traditions in the home, it gave us that opportunity to talk to our children about, what did you see at Mass that was different? And what do you think it means for Christ to be the King of your heart? Or, those type of things. And the conversation doesn't have to take very long. But I think it's impactful to talk about it, because we all kind of zone out at church from time to time. And so to bring it in and help the children make connections, I think is a great opportunity.
Yeah, I love this because, I need to do better at it. But my wife started writing all of our, hers, mine, and our children's baptismal birthdays on our calendar, and putting it in our Google Calendar. And so when it comes to that day, we'll a happy baptismal birthday. So it's pretty cool. And if I'm thinking about it, I'll make maybe that kid's favorite kind of pancakes or something like that. But that's one of those things also where you could let's make a cake today because it's your spiritual birthday. And that's part of that too. Like I really like how you said, you go from just practicing to celebrating. And I think that is part of that piece, that you can very easily, we're just going to, just like we would invite people to our physical birthday, as a family, we're going to celebrate our spiritual birthdays. Is that something that you guys also do? Or?
Yeah, I do try to keep track of that. I have a liturgical living binder to keep track of dates of birthdays or feast days or whatever, and they do slip by me sometimes. But I love the idea of the Google Calendar, so I get that reminder. That is great. I have 3 kids born within a span of 15 days, so really we have to do it just was poor timing there. But we just have to do we kind of celebrate all of the baptismal days that have happened, because they kind of fall together. But yeah, a favorite dessert, light the baptismal candle if you can find it, do a baptismal day blessing. And it's a really great reminder of this special grace that they've received.
That is fantastic. Now, I'm sure that everybody always has the excuse, I'm just so busy. And I get it. Everybody is. And as a homeschool mom, you're extremely busy also, because you're taking care of curriculum along with everything else that you do. Obviously as a homeschool mom, you have to find time for this. How do you find time for it? How do you suggest other people, whether they're homeschool families or not, to be able to have that time to add this stuff in?
Yeah, it is tricky. We're all busy. I would say as a homeschool mom, that allows us to have a pace of life that's a little slower. Also, I am with my children more, so it gives me more opportunities, to plug it in where it works. But I do watch, some of my good friends that are working moms and watch how they navigate doing it. I think it's important to be flexible. Maybe there's a feast day you want to celebrate. It falls on a weekday and that's just too much. And you move it to Saturday when you have a little bit more time. And you just celebrate whatever it is on that Saturday. I think it's important to find out and kind of discern what type of celebration or what do I want to observe, what do I want to celebrate, and what works for me. I have some moms that love to do crafts. That makes me want to break out in hives. Crafting with my children is not a strong suit, even though I'm a homeschool mom.
That's
So-
my wife also, so that's why I laugh. That's great.
So I rarely involve crafts in our celebration. I have 3 boys and then a girl. My boys, sometimes they're in the mood, but a lot of times they're like, yeah, no thanks. So we don't do a lot of crafts. Other moms love to celebrate with crafts. Like I said, we do a lot of food or treats to draw in and then have a conversation. So finding out what works for you and what is kind of like your recipe for it. I love to, find images or find quotes if we're going to celebrate a saint. And, lighting candles is another way to draw kids in because it makes it feel special. And then, the more organized you are and the simpler it is, the easier it is to pull off.
Yeah, that is wonderful. And I love how, as you're speaking, it really is that personally tailored thing. We'll get into later maybe some resources and stuff like that, because some people are more, actually, I just want to use something that somebody else has done. I don't want to have to come up with this all on my own. And we'll get to that. But also you have that freedom to be able to say, well, you know what? We don't have time to spend an hour every however often to do this, but we can spend 10 minutes. I mean, so you can just tailor make it to your own family's needs. And so that's really beautiful. I want to remind everybody that we are listening to Divine Mercy Radio's Fall Care-a-thon, Joy of the Gospel. We're talking with Megan Beisel about liturgical living. And if you would like to help us out as we're speaking about these different things, you can call into 785-621-4110. With those matching funds, when you call in, your $100 pledge becomes $200. Your 50 becomes 100. Your 25 becomes 50. I just want to remind everybody that with those funds, we have them because of people who, as the Care-a-thon is going on or before it started, wanted to entice others to give into the mission of this radio station, as they think that it is very important. I think it's important. I don't think there's anything more important than saving souls, and that's what we do here, is to try and keep the truth of Christ out there. So if you're driving along out there, as I've said before, pull over. Give us a call. If you're on a run, or if you are at home and just kind of vegging out, doing dishes or whatever it is, call 785-621-4110. That's 785-621-4110. All right, Megan, we're going to get back to discussing things with you. We've talked about this liturgical living throughout the seasons, and I'd like to go back maybe and talk a little bit more about the season of Lent and then Easter, and see, are there other things that you have incorporated that you think would help other families out also?
Okay. The season of Lent. My mind is so on Advent. Let me make a switch.
Oh, that's okay. Was there anything you wanted to add about Advent?
No, I'm just,
Okay.
For the season of Lent, like I said, I do some decorating. We talk as a family about what can we offer up individually. I tend to leave it up to my kids on what they choose, and then maybe we'll choose one thing as a family that we offer up together. And then we like to pray the Stations of the Cross on Fridays, which I know is pretty common or traditional in a lot of parishes. But we tend to pray them at home. Sometimes I find that with small children, or even, my older children, that a comfortable environment at home, maybe we light candles and we have books, and they can participate a little more fully than they can ask questions or they can move a bit, and that helps us. And so we'll do ours at home. At some season of life, we may transition to going and participating with the parish community, but right now that's what works best for us.
Okay.
We have a lot of. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to break in there and said you were cutting out a little bit there. Just wanted to make sure that we were getting everything clear for you.
Okay. We do have so as we move into Holy Week, we have quite a few traditions surrounding Holy Week to gear up for Easter. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Okay.
All right. So as I break in here really quickly, I wanted to thank a couple of people here. So we have Adolf and Deanne Schmidt of Hayes donated $500. So their donation becomes $1,000 with that donation. We had Roberta Augustine of Ellis donated 50. So her donation becomes 100. And then we also had Howard Garvert of Plainville, who donated $250, and so his donation becomes a $500 donation. So that is absolutely wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you for calling in. Thank you for your donations. Call 785-621-4110 if you want to partner with Adolf and Deanne, with Roberta, with Howard, with myself, and all those who support the mission of the church and the mission of this station. 785-621-4110. All right, we're getting back to speaking with Megan Beisel here about liturgical living. And I apologize, Megan, for our technical difficulties there for a minute. And so I don't want to miss anything that you were saying. So let's go right back to what we were talking about in the season of Lent there.
Okay, so throughout Lent, we try to pray the Stations of the Cross on Fridays. We pray them in our home, kind of at an at-home prayer service. And then as we move into Holy Week, we have traditions for each, starting with by Wednesday, and then for Holy Thursday and Good Friday. We have some different traditions. Several years ago, when I had littles, kind of discerned that, Holy Thursday is such a beautiful, I love the washing of the feet and, the institution of the Eucharist, but kind of discerned that maybe what was best for my family at that time was for us to learn and do some things at home. And so we started doing our own family washing of the feet, and then talking about the Last Supper, and I would make unleavened bread. And so that was more, hands-on for my children, especially on a week where we're going to go to Good Friday for sure, and we're going to go to either the Easter Vigil or Sunday morning Mass, and so to take a step back and do those things at home seemed like the right fit for us.
Okay. So do you have any? Can I ask? Do you have any teenagers at home?
I do not. Well, almost. I have a 12-year-old, so
okay,
he's my oldest.
Okay, so that washing of the feet, you may quit that. For some reason, when they become teenagers, their feet are terrible.
We may have to institute a pre-washing of the feet before you come to get your feet washed.
Maybe so. We're talking with Megan Beisel. We're talking about liturgical living, having a great conversation here. I want to jump in and do a second trivia question. So this trivia question, if you get it right, first you call in to 785-621-4110. And if you get it right, we'll put you in a drawing for a $50 gift certificate to Messenger Traditional Catholic Books and Gifts. That's 785-621-4110. All right. Here is your 1230 question. Which Old Testament prophet was caught up in a chariot of fire? Is it A, Elisha, B, Moses, C, Elijah, or D, Joshua? Which Old Testament prophet was caught up in a chariot of fire? A, Elisha, B, Moses, C, Elijah, D, Joshua. 785-621-4110. You get it right, we'll put you into that drawing. We draw at about 6 o'clock. All right. Sorry, I was looking at my computer. Looked like we had something here. Oh, all right. Sorry, I had a little technical difficulties. We're getting through them. But we're going to get back to Megan Beisel, and we're talking about liturgical living, and we want you to join with us as we're talking about this liturgical living and start living that liturgical lifestyle however you can. As Megan has been speaking with us, we have been getting this kind of overview and understanding that, first, it's not that difficult, but second, it is also very personal and tailor-made. And so as we get back to her here in just a second, we'll discuss more of how that looks, where you can go, things you can find out, and different things like that. First, I want to congratulate Karen McAllister, who is the winner of the trivia question. The correct answer there is Elijah. The question was, which Old Testament prophet was caught up in a chariot of fire? So congratulations to Karen. We'll get you put into that drawing. All right, Megan, hopefully we will have no more problems, but we're getting straight back to you, and we'll start discussing more of where you left off.
Okay. So I was just talking a little bit about how we do Holy Week in our home, and just the traditions. I think that helps my children look forward to that week that sometimes can feel daunting, and heavy, but to be able to walk through it with Jesus, as a family is a really special week for us.
So what does it then, are there other things that you guys really look to through that Holy Week? You already talked about doing Stations of the Cross and stuff like that leading up to it, but specifically Holy Week, there's lots of things that the church offers, and as you said, it's kind of it can be a tough thing, and it should be for us. Are there things that you guys really focus on to help draw you into it?
I think because there's, so many days back to back that are special, and, we're truly walking this last week with Jesus. We just really try to focus in on whatever is going on with Jesus on that day. So on
Gotcha.
By Wednesday, we talk about how Judas is going to sell Jesus. We have silver dollar pancakes to represent, the silver pieces that he sold Jesus for. And then as we move into Thursday and talking about the Last Supper and kind of imitating some of that, we usually have what I call a disciples dinner, where we try to eat foods that would have been, we think, common back then. And then moving into Friday, which Good Friday is always a hard day, I feel like. And especially as a mom with 4 kids, for kids to really grasp the significance of the day and carry that throughout the whole day is real hard for them. So we just try to do, we'll do the service at church that happens at noon, and we'll also, try to observe maybe a little of our own quiet time. But as a mom, you always hope it'll last longer than the attention that they have. But, just growing in that way to try to observe that time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I could think that even as you were talking earlier about having that, with you growing up with the, no TV or whatever, if you haven't given up electronics or something like that, especially on Good Friday, that's a time to just really make bigger sacrifices like that. And maybe if you haven't during the whole time, maybe that's a good day to do something like that too, is just say, you know what, for today, we're just going to not have electronics as a family. On Good Friday, we're going to make it that much more special so that we understand really what we're doing this for. So that's beautiful to hear the different things that you do leading up to that. And then I'm really excited to hear, all right, the 3 days are over. Now, what happens for you guys at your house during Easter?
Well, Easter, we do a lot of the typical Easter celebrations as far as like an Easter basket and some egg hunts and that type of thing. But again, just like with Christmas, we're trying to hold off and really start celebrating Easter on Easter, and then continue to celebrate it through the season of Easter, which is a long one. And so just observing some of the different days that fall during the Easter season, Divine Mercy Sunday and Good Shepherd Sunday, and continuing those things, and just kind of keeping that joyful spirit. The decorations stay up. We don't pack them away until the season's over, that type of thing.
Well, that is awesome. So do you guys also then celebrate, the descent of the Holy Spirit, the birth of the church, stuff like that?
Yeah, so I have made a banner. I'm sure I saw an idea on Pinterest and then made my own, but that follows each of the Sundays of Easter. And so several of them obviously have their own, Divine Mercy Sunday, Good Shepherd Sunday, and then so that helps us mark the season and remember that we're still in the season as we have that visual of like, okay, we're here on this Sunday of Easter and we have this many Sundays of Easter left and that type of thing.
That's cool. So you like hang up a banner in your own home, so that it's that constant reminder of, oh, nope, we haven't left yet.
Yes. It's just on our mantle. And so it's part of our Easter decorations. And so it's a nice visual of, okay, we're still celebrating Easter. Let's remember that we're still celebrating Easter.
That is fantastic. I want to break in here quick to remind everybody you're listening to our Fall Care-a-thon, Joy of the Gospel. And we are having a joyful talk here with Megan Beisel talking about liturgical living. And basically what that means is that we are living out the liturgical year of the church within our own homes. We're being that domestic church that we're called to be, helping our kids learn about things through these different wonderful seasons that the church gives us, whether that's food or special activities, or even like Megan said, putting up a banner so we remember that this season isn't just one day long, but there are different periods to different seasons. And so just wonderful things we're talking about here, but we're only able to do that because you guys have graciously called in and donated, and we're asking for others out there who are listening right now. If you have never donated and you're listening, the reason why you're listening is because those people who have. And so I would ask that you would consider partnering with us also. Very often we hear things like this and we think, they must be doing okay. They're on the air. We're only okay because of people like you. And so since we're 100% listener funded, I'm asking you to pledge with us. Call 785-621-4110. That's 785-621-4110. Let's help keep the lights on, keep those radio station towers up, and let's keep proclaiming the gospel message of Christ. We're going to get back to Megan Beisel talking about liturgical living. And Megan, I'd like to ask you, how important have you seen this liturgical living play out in the lives of your children? And what are some things maybe that you've seen your children be able to take from this?
Well, I'd like to say that my children, because of this liturgical living, are perfect model children, but that is, if that's what you're going for, that's not what you're going to get. I kind of look at it as planting seeds. I'm not necessarily going to see the fruits of it right away. But I do think they have a firm grasp and understanding of the church and the seasons of the church. And I love that they're inspired by the saints. For a long time, I felt very intimidated by the stories of the saints, felt very anxious about not being a saint myself, not being good enough. But I feel like my children are more inspired and they can learn and take from those saints and understand, their call to holiness is unique to them. And that makes me feel good. So yeah, I think that they feel a deep connection to the faith, probably deeper than I felt at their age. So.
No, that is wonderful. And that's what we strive for. But also, as you say that, I think I agree. A lot of people out there look at the saints and are like, man, I could never do that. But if you look at the background of the saints, there are some of them that were very holy from the beginning. And then there's others like the St. Augustine's. Here's a pillar of our faith who didn't have a real great life for the first 30 years of his life or something like that. And so those stories are also very comforting, because then we can be like, oh, they were a lot like me, so there is hope.
Yeah, so, we need those saints for sure to help us feel like there's hope.
Absolutely. So how can this liturgical living in our own home enhance our own spiritual lives outside of the home then?
Well, I think anytime you're growing in your faith and you're more open to the graces of God, it's going to flow out of you. I think that one thing that I have found with our liturgical living tradition is it has allowed us to connect with other families that are living liturgically, or to invite people in. Maybe they aren't living liturgically, but they might be interested in it, and we can invite them into a celebration and share that part of our faith with them. And that is the nice perk. It helps us connect to others through the church.
Yeah, and kind of like we were just talking about, that's one of the things that you notice about the saints is, our theme for the Care-a-thon is joy of the gospel, and that's what you notice about the saints is when they start living a life in Christ, then they have that joy that just exudes from them, and other people catch it because they're like, well, I want whatever they have. And so I think, you make really good points about when we start living liturgically, it's going to have that ripple effect that others may see.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to, we've got here about 8 minutes or so before we finish up with that. I want to just one more time remind listeners that you are listening to Divine Mercy Radio's Fall Care-a-thon, Joy of the Gospel. We do have this going on because we are completely listener funded. So if you're hearing me, please call in to 785-621-4110. That's 785-621-4110. Pledge with us to keep the joy of the gospel going out on these radio waves. All right, we're talking with Megan Beisel about liturgical living. So Megan, is there anything before we start wrapping up that we missed that you would like to go back to?
I just always want to remind people, to start small. You just, wherever you are, just add one thing or try one thing. Whether that's switching up your devotion to an Advent devotional or adding, a different meal prayer. It's okay to start small and to grow in layers. And it doesn't have to be overcomplicated.
Now, what is you've mentioned that a few times. What is your Advent meal prayer? How does it go?
Okay. I'm trying to remember. It's from, I think, Catholic Household Blessings, maybe the book. I think the copy that I have was written in 1988, so it's been around for a long time and been revised. But it's a response, a leader in a response. So it's "Come, Lord Jesus, come quickly," and then the leader says, "Blessed are you in the darkness and the light. Blessed are you in this food and in our sharing. Blessed are you as we wait in joyful hope for the coming of our Savior Jesus Christ." And then I think the closing is, "The kingdom, the power, and the glory, yours now and forever and ever. Amen." But don't quote me on that part.
Okay.
It's something we did growing up, and it's a tradition, that I carried on. But it's just a daily reminder that, this is the season that we're waiting for Jesus to come.
Yes. And where did you say you thought that was from?
Catholic Household Blessings, I think.
Okay.
Is the title.
Okay, and then if people want to find more resources about what you're talking about to help them either start or broaden their own liturgical living experience, where would you send them to?
Well, I think the book that kind of kicked off my journey is by Kendra Tierney. It's called Catholic All Year, or the Catholic All Year Continuum, or something like that. But honestly, if you go to Pinterest and you just type in Catholic liturgical living, you're going to have more information than you could ever sift through. But just kind of digging in and finding resources that fit your family. There's lots of really talented Catholic moms out there creating resources. And once you kind of get in the circle, you'll start to find tons of stuff.
Okay. And then what about your own website?
I do share some of our traditions and some of the things that we're doing that are seasonal or liturgical living. And so on onefestivemama.com, you can find some different things that I just do at my home, and then I share in case somebody else is interested.
Okay, and then is there what else could we find if we went to your website? What other things would you like to tell us about that maybe people wouldn't know that they could find on your website?
Well, one thing that I have there that has helped me in my liturgical living journey is some binder, how to set up a liturgical living binder. So I have a binder that helps keep all of these prayers that we pray, different pictures of saints, different recipes that we use, all kind of, and like I said, the baptismal days, godchildren baptismal days, kind of organized, which helps if I'm like, oh my gosh, I completely forgot that it's, such and such feast day, and we love to celebrate that. All I have to do is pull out my binder and pull out the picture or the quote or whatever we have, and it's all organized. I'm not digging around trying to find things.
You are so much more organized than me. That is
Well,
absolutely
it's only because I have to be. I'm not a naturally like type A organized person, so I had to create a system to keep myself from recreating every year.
That is very smart. Unfortunately, I end up reinventing the wheel every single time. So maybe I should take some lessons from you. So one more time, what is your website, Megan?
It's just onefestivemama.com, and the one is spelled out.
Okay.
O-N-E.
Well, fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Megan. This was a great interview. We really appreciate it. Gives us some thoughts on how to go through the different seasons of the year, liturgical seasons, and not just kind of let them go by, but maybe other ways that us and our families can enter into them. We really appreciate your time, Megan.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Have a wonderful day.
You too.
Bye.
We just got done speaking with Megan Beisel about liturgical living here on Divine Mercy Radio's Fall Care-a-thon, Joy of the Gospel. We wanted to remind everybody about our on-air guest call-in. So if you are listening to us and one of the guests that's on here, you have a question for, or maybe it's a question about the topic that we're speaking about, you can call in to 785-621-5061. That's 785-621-5061. And you can either be patched directly in so everybody can hear your question from you, or you can have them send it to me on the computer. They'll send it directly in here, and then I will read it for you, and we'll get that answered. We've had a couple of those, and it's fantastic. We love having those questions. Please use that number, 785-621-5061, to call in and let us know anything that you would like us to answer. I also wanted to talk with everybody just for a few seconds about the prayer for the mission of Divine Mercy Radio. So we say this every morning before we start the Care-a-thon. And part of it says, Heavenly Father, we thank you for giving us these radio waves as a means of evangelizing your word. We ask that you bless this ministry by opening the minds and hearts of all who listen. And it goes on, but I wanted to stop there because that's what we're asking the Father to do, is to help us to bless you guys also with this ministry by helping you to hear the truth, and also by helping others who really need it to hear the truth. And so, as it says, we ask that you bless this ministry by opening the minds and hearts of all who listen. We ask that you would help us to bless others through this ministry by partnering with us in our Care-a-thon. That goal is $125,000, and that will help us to make sure that we know where we're at for the year, so that we can keep putting out this wonderful content that we have. We are able to play the content directly from EWTN Radio, and we have 3 of our own shows that we now produce and that are doing very well. We're getting great feedback for it, but that's only made possible because you guys are such great donors. So please continue to do that, especially if you are someone who hasn't donated before. Call in now, 785-621-4110. You can also donate at dvmercy.com. And if you go to dvmercy.com, you can see the little thermometer, and you can see how it's going up each day and see where we're at for our goal. We have gifts also this Care-a-thon. So if you give $250 or more, you will receive a ceramic Divine Mercy Radio Nativity Christmas